So my name is Jenny Magdahl, for those of you who don't know me, and I'm the IB Diploma Program Coordinator at St. Louis Park. Thank you to all the families, parents, students, and educators that are here to celebrate the significant milestone our senior diploma candidates have reached. Each of these IB diploma candidates have spent the last year and a half in a very rigorous schedule of language and literature, language acquisition, individuals and societies, the sciences, and mathematics. In addition to this balanced coursework, students were involved in a course titled Theory of Knowledge and participated in numerous activities and service opportunities outside of school. The reason, though, that we're here today is to celebrate the completion of their extended essays. Each of these students were able to select a topic that was interesting to them outside of their normal coursework. But they used research methods that were applicable to the course content that they were researching to investigate an answer to a question that they devised. Over the past year, during the 0-hour time, students met with Ms. Castor, as well as with a content supervisor to complete this task. The finished products were analyses reaching 4,000 words in length. Along the way, students self-evaluated and reflected on their process. And the skills that these students have gained are innumerable. For instance, they're all now confident and clear in seeking support from adults. They're able to succinctly explain their reasoning. They're able to think deeply about topics. They're able to complete a large task by chunking it into smaller checkpoints. And they were able to experience the joy of engaging in material that is interesting to them. Before we really begin, I'd like to take a moment to explain I'd like to take a moment to share some gratitude. First of all, we have Ellen George with us today. She is now retired from being the library media specialist, and she spent so much time helping students with their general research. Ellen, your ability to track down resources is incredible, and you truly help support students when they hit roadblocks. Thank you. I'd also like to thank Julianne Castor, our IB Extended Essay Coordinator, for her work with students in this whole process. Julianne, the way that you respect students' busy lives, make adjustments for their well-beings, and your ability to help each one reach this end goal is astounding. Thank you. Would also like to thank the parents and families who have supported their students through this especially odd time with COVID. You each are valued by your child and our school community. Thank you. Finally, I would like to thank each of the extended essay supervisors for the support that they gave to their student or students. Carly, Meryl, Andy, Julianne, Joe, Jeff, Greg, Jill, and Lori, the 5 or more hours that you've spent with your supervisee, asking them questions, prompting them to go deeper, and supporting them as individuals that they are, undoubtedly gave them or got them to this point. So thank you. Senior diploma candidates, we're really here today to learn from you and to honor this great project that you've completed. You're one step closer to obtaining the internationally recognized diploma. More importantly, you engaged in the research and writing process that will help you tackle any projects that college can throw at you. Many of you overcame obstacles at various points in the process, but you persevered. I hope that this perseverance will be a reminder to you in the future when you face other obstacles, that even those will be insurmountable. You will succeed. I'm so proud of each of you, and you each give me hope that our future as the human race is going to be better than I could even imagine at this point. So what we're going to do is let each student just summarize a little bit of what it was that they learned from their experience and from their research. And we're just going to go alphabetically by last name.
Okay, should I just start? Okay, hi everyone, I'm Keely Burnson. My extended essay was a feminist literary analysis focused on comparing The Age of Innocence by Edith Wharton and The Power by Naomi Alderman. So, for a little background, The Age of Innocence is a 1920 fiction novel focused on the social norms in the late 19th century. And The Power is a 2016 futuristic fiction novel that looks at a future where the stereotypical power dynamic between men and women is reversed. So, since these books are so different from each other, I wanted to kind of look at how they highlight the female experience and the social structure of men and women in different contexts. And I analyzed these books using the feminist lens and looked at how the female experience was portrayed in each setting. And I also looked at some other forms of feminist media and the impact this media has on our perception of social norms. And during this research, I learned a lot about how literature has changed over time and how the portrayal of women has evolved to give women a greater voice. And I think there's a lot that still needs to change in terms of female representation, but these books showed me that that change is possible. And I just wanted to take a second to thank Miss Magdahl, Miss Castor, Mr. Wilkes, my parents, and just everyone else in the program for helping me through this process because your help meant a lot to me. And just thank you.
Okay, so my extended essay was about Jews during the Holocaust and looking at music as a weapon of resistance. So my research question was, to what extent was music a weapon of resistance for Jews against the Nazi oppression? So a little bit of background. So during the Holocaust, the Nazis, as well as their collaborators, murdered 6 million Jewish people. So I looked at this event as a way to kind of shed music into light. I looked at not only how people did resist, but also how they succumbed to that resistance. For example, I looked at many different European countries, like Czechoslovakia, for example, where these Jews would put on performances to entertain the Nazis, but ultimately they ended up being killed on the spot. So looking at the differences and similarities, resistance in general. And finally, I just wanted to thank Miss Magdahl, Miss Castor, Miss Page, my amazing supervisor, and all the fellow IB Dipcans who have helped me along the way.
Hey, so I'm Zoe, and my research question for my extended essay was like a literary analysis of the musical Hadestown and the dynamic between the two couples represented into it. Um, and yeah, I think my question is pretty straightforward. It was just looking at the dynamics between these two couples, kind of in terms of love and the concept of motivation and the driving force behind them, which was cool because I really like the musical Hadestown and musical theater, and it was kind of a cool take on a literary analysis. And thank you to Miss Magdahl and my advisor, Miss Castor. It was very fun to work with somebody else as into musical theater as I am. And just to all my friends in the IB program who all knew what it was like to go write the extended essay. So thank you, everybody.
Hi guys, my name is Jack Frederickson. My area of study for my extended essay was history, and I wrote it about the British involvement in India from 1577 to 1945. So my research question was, how did the nature of British involvement in India change between 1577 and 1945? And basically what I found was that there was like 4 periods of involvement, ranging from trade all the way up until they fully controlled the government in India. And they were marked by both military and political events. Um, so yeah, that's about what I found, and I'd really like to thank Ms. Magdon, Ms. Castor, and especially Mr. Cohen, even though I'm not sure if he's here, but he was a great advisor. And then also everybody in the IB diploma that's helped me, and my parents and my sister.
Hi guys, I'm Tamar. So I looked at the efficacy of juvenile transfer laws within a global context. So as you can see by my research question, I looked at that from like a psychological and sociological context. And I started out by looking at what demographic groups are primarily targeted by juvenile transfer laws, like race, socioeconomic class, and age, even though it's all juveniles. And then I looked at the psychological and physical effects of juveniles being transferred to an adult prison when that is their sentence. And then I looked at determining the actual efficacy of the transfer laws using data on deterrence and rehabilitation and just general surveys. And then at the end, I just kind of compared it to other countries, especially Germany, who is pretty advanced in their juvenile justice system, and suggested some reforms for that, given that I found that juvenile transfer laws were not effective way in dealing with juveniles. And just echoing everyone else, thank you to Magdal, Castor, Mr. Weber, and everyone else, obviously, in the IB diploma candidates. Yeah.
Hi guys, so I did my research on the analysis of the Trump administration's withdrawal from the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, which is the Iran nuclear deal, and the consequences that resulted. And most of the research was based on past administrations' Iran policies and Trump's and comparing them. And what I found was that there was no real premise for the Trump administration to withdraw from this deal, and that the consequences can be linked to the heightened diplomatic tensions between the US and Iran that ultimately led to the killing of Hussein Soleimani that we saw last time around this year. And yeah, I would just like to say thank you to my supervisor, Mr. Weber, Ms. Magdal, Ms. Castor, all the IB kids, and my parents.
Hi, my name is Gabe. I looked at the relationship between egocentrism and anxiety among teens. Initially, I was looking at humility, but then I kind of like moved over to egocentrism and then narrowed down the topic to anxiety in teens. I found that when people are feeling anxious, they're more likely to turn inwards and think more about themselves. But if someone's already predisposed to be more egocentric and think about themselves more often, they're not necessarily going to be more anxious. Also, like everyone else has been saying, I'd like to thank Magdal, Castor, Goddard, my advisor, and then everybody else who's helped out. Oh, and Miss George, she helped a lot with getting sources.
So I looked at two of Jane Austen's novels, Pride and Prejudice, arguably her most famous, and Persuasion, her last full novel, to look at what are the roles of the two main characters, Lizzie and Anne, whether or not they were feminists and who was the superior feminist. And my final conclusion was that Anne was a superior feminist heroine because her character development was more complete. However, Elizabeth from Pride and Prejudice ended up getting the happier ending in terms of social class and financial status, which emphasizes the contradiction that Austen sees between acting as a feminist and living a life of security in the Regency era. And I, of course, want to thank Ms. Magdal and Ms. Castor, my supervisor, for helping me.
Hi, my name is Josh. I wrote a history essay about Project Rover, which was the United States program to develop this nuclear-powered rocket engine that ran through the 50s and 60s and was canceled basically a few years before they would have had a complete engine. And I was kind of looking at what were the forces that impacted this development process and resulted in what seems to be a pretty irrational cancellation of the project. And I found that it was a lot of kind of political factors that resulted in this. And at the end, it was kind of this backstabbing in terms of in like the Senate. And yeah, it was a really interesting project. And I would like to thank Ms. Castor and Ms. Magdal and my supervisor, Ms. Merkel, for helping me through the tumultuous process that was writing this essay. And I would also like to thank all the fellow IB Dipcans.
I'm Talia. I did a Lang and Lit paper on the way that former President Donald Trump used propaganda to manipulate the media during the 2016 election. And I found that no matter what kind of coverage that he was getting, it was still good coverage, which translated to him doing a lot of different things to try and get whatever coverage he possibly could. And so thank you to Ms. Magdahl and Ms. Castor and Kinkley.
Hi everyone, my name is Liz. So I did a dystopian literary analysis using the more traditional book, Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, and a newer dystopian novel, M.T. Anderson's Feed. So I compared both of them on how like the themes of technology, distraction, and characters who deviated from the norm, like how they played a role in the development of the novel. And so both these books have characters that are really self-absorbed and really full into the progress obsession in the worlds that they live in. And so it's really interesting to compare like parallels in the book because the books are so different and written in very different time periods. So I just wanted to say thank you to my parents, my teachers, and Ms. Magdahl, Ms. Castor especially, and Mr. Wilkes for putting up with all the shenanigans that these books had to offer. And thank you so much to all of the IB diploma candidates. You all are amazing.
Hi, everyone. So I'm Noah, and for my extended essay, I wrote about Joseph Stalin's life and specifically his opinions towards and treatment of Jews as ruler of the Soviet Union. So I concluded through analysis of his secret purges, foreign policy, writings, personal life, and many other factors that Joseph Stalin was an anti-Semite. And a huge thank you to Mrs. Kregness, my supervisor, Mrs. Magdahl, Ms. Castor, and Ms. George for being so helpful. And I really have enjoyed getting to learn a bit about each and every one of your extended essays.
Hi guys, I'm Lily. I did my paper in chemistry, and so basically I was trying to figure out which polyol structures in different flavors of gum yielded the greatest acid neutralization. And so I used different flavors of gum. I used cinnamon, spearmint, strawberry, watermelon, and apple. And I found out that the strawberry flavor gum was the best because it has a molecular structure called xylitol, which has the highest number of hydroxyl groups, which was 5, which helps the most. And then I found out that cinnamon and spearmint were the worst because their molecular structures were carbone and formaldehyde, which are usually soluble in water and nonpolar, so they can't form hydrogen bonds. And I'd like to thank Ms. Castor and Ms. Magdahl. Ms. Magdahl's my advisor, and we always had such good times during our meetings, and my fellow dip cans, because they're all very lovely people.
Thank you all so much for those synopses of 4,000 words. So you did a really good job of getting to the point there for all of us to hear. We do have about 10 minutes if there are any questions. Normally during this event, we've got cake and we get a chance to mingle and ask each other questions about the project. We don't have that, but I would like to open up if there's any questions for specific diploma candidates that you have. If there's anything that you want to follow up on, just unmute yourself and shoot them that question.
Hi, everyone. I'm Wendy Loberg. I'm your principal. I haven't had the privilege of meeting all of you yet, but I've so enjoyed listening to your passion in the research that you've completed. I love nothing more than seeing students get to choose what they really are interested in, then go deeper in that learning. And we're so blessed to have the IB diploma program available. I giggle when I hear you say dip cans. It's a word I haven't heard before. And I'm just kind of giggling here, but I can't wait to meet all of you. I hope, you all have your choice, whether you come back to school or whether you stay in cohort C, but I'm just thrilled with the work I'm seeing and the support that's available to our students from our community and from our staff. So hi to you all. Thank you for inviting me. And I look forward to meeting you all. Thanks so much.
So I would love to know from the seniors, what would you give as your advice to the students coming up on how to succeed with your extended essay, and what's your big learning takeaway?
I would say that it's most important to just write your essay as much as you can at the beginning when you're still really like passionate and into your topic, because the ideas are a lot more genuine then. Yeah, my biggest like takeaway is that I drew mine out too long, and by the end of it was kind of tired of writing it, but it was so much easier at the beginning when it was fresh and new. So I would recommend that.
Yeah, also just kind of jumping off that, really make sure you follow the deadlines. Like, that's the most important thing. That they do a great job of spacing it out. They've been doing it for a long time. So the way they have it organized is great, and you should follow that for sure.
My advice would be mostly to people doing like literary papers, and I would say it's very helpful to like take notes along the way, because I was kind of writing down quotes and stuff that I collected as I read, and then it was a lot easier to like go back and see all the notes I had taken and then compare it to the notes I had taken from the other book, and it was all laid out very nicely once I had done that. So that would be my advice.
This one's pretty simple, but just choose a topic that you really want to learn more about and that you can see yourself learning about for that extended amount of time.